This June the 12th picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 325 times your entry with their new Pick 8. Sign up with our code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com promo code MLB SGPN. And we're brought to you by Rhythm. Get the best data-driven props and picks from Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is, what do we reckon, Tuesday, the 11th of June. We are here to handicap the full card of MLB action for Wednesday, June the 12th. Joining me, been a little while, is Mr. Scott Reichel. Scott, how you doing?
Yeah, doing pretty well. How are you doing? You ditched me over the weekend to go to a baseball game, and how'd that go?
Yes, it was fun. We talked about it last night with Munaf. I think I upset some Phillies fans, although the Phillies fans appear to have got stuck into Munaf on Twitter today instead of me. I was really surprised, Scott, by just quite how I don't know what's the word to use for the Phillies fans. I don't want to upset anybody else. They seem to be quite aggressive and belligerent, maybe. And I was quite surprised at it because really it was quite a fun family day out. And then Munaf said some stuff, and people have taken more offence to what Munaf said. So I'm in the clear. But I had a great time. I enjoyed the games a lot. I enjoyed the atmosphere. The whole weekend was lots of fun. Didn't hit any of my home run props, but I did see some. Saw Bryce Harper home run, so I can put that on my CV. So yeah, it was good, Scott. What was your impression of it from over where you were?
That was a nice double play by Torrens in game
Yeah, it
two.
was.
That was my main takeaway. Thought it was fun. I mean, both games were entertaining. First one, not so much. Second game was. Unfortunately, though, the second game started early. To be fully honest, I was busy watching the French Open final
Yeah,
in
I
the
thought you might be.
for that one, but I ended up turning it over after Alcaraz won, saw the ninth inning, and that was where all the drama happened. So it looked like a fun overall two-game set. I mentioned before that I don't really know how I feel overall about baseball continually just expanding internationally. I think it's fun to have like a couple of times a year, but I am wondering with the Mexico game and with the England game, and eventually they're probably going to go to other countries, how much is too much? Or is there just an
Yeah.
unlimited amount?
Well, the thing is, it's a 162 game season, so I think if there's a sport you can do it. I mean, in my sport, soccer, football, the FIFA have just passed regulations this week enabling domestic games to be played abroad for the first time. So they're talking about playing a Premier League game abroad. And obviously, it's only a 38 game season. If you're a season ticket holder, you get 19 games. So if they take one of those games off you, that's why I never really understood the NFL thing. Because you, as a season ticket holder, you'd get 8 games, wouldn't you? And then they take one of them to Germany or England or what have you. But I think with 162 games, I don't think the ticket sales were quite what they should have been this year. My friend who was working down there, who's a member of the sort of the British Baseball League, he said they weren't thrilled with the ticket sales and they was kind of threatening not to come back again if the ticket sales weren't good. I know they've talked about maybe going to Germany. So yeah, we'll find out. But personally, I did have a lovely time. The chat is live and kicking. Callum, Callum is our Liverpool fan here. You need to tell me, Callum, if you've ever made a baseball bet because he's listened to half a dozen of these shows now. We need to know if he's broken his baseball virginity. Gio's in. Edgar making his debut live, which is nice to see. Edgar, how you doing? And Randy. What we've got tonight is Wednesday's games. There has been no day spoiled today, so all the games that myself and Moon have handicapped last night, Monday for Tuesday, all start in a couple of hours' time. Little bits of bobs of news and notes we will get to as we go through the card. And we'll start after I've told you first about the Daily Dog, which is a new 10-minute podcast here at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, all about the underdog picks. So it's a great little idea, 10 minutes every Monday to Friday. So just download the Daily Dog wherever you get your podcasts for that. And the Circa Survivor and Circa Millions launched this week. $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Sign up in Vegas, play from anywhere with footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code is SGP. That will get you $50 off. Footballcontestproxy.com. Promo code SGP. First game tomorrow is a little bit of day's ball action, bit of afternoon action. This will suit you, Callum. Get involved in a 1:10 Eastern first pitch between the Colorado Rockies and the Minnesota Twins. Austin Gomber, left-handed pitcher for the Rockies, will face Pablo Lopez of the Minnesota Twins. Minus 250, the Twins. That's a short price to be starting with here, with the Rockies at plus 180. And Austin gone before the Rockies hasn't been too bad lately. I feel like I've been saying this about quite a few of the Colorado starting pitchers. His numbers are okay. 355 on the road, 283 ERA in his last 5. And Colorado have been winning his fair share of starts. So they're not without a chance because of the presence of Gomber here. They are in poor form again, generally speaking, the Rockies. In 10-26 on the road. They were shut out by Chris Paddock in the first game of the series on Monday night. But Pablo Lopez for the Twins is really struggling too. 7, 6, and 7 earned runs in 3 of his last 4 starts. He's thrown out more bad than good, effectively. And the Twins are losing his fair share of games. I do think Minnesota are most likely to win, but I certainly don't want to bet them. Not that we can at this price anyway, unless you go for a run line or even an alt run line. But I think the total here is 7.5, which means I think a Colorado team total's viable, Scott, which would that be a level 3? You might know a bit more than me. But I think Colorado could get to 3 or 4 runs here. So I would take a Colorado team total, Scott.
Yeah, that seems like a bit of a standard, heavily juiced 4.5, and then probably 2.5 on Colorado, if I had to guess.
Yes.
So you could probably get 2.5 for Colorado team total. Yeah, I lost money on the Rockies in the opener of the series. I had the first 5 team total over against the Chris Paddock, who apparently turned out to have a phenomenal start. Rockies guys on base, they just can't generate good at bats on a regular basis. So kind of the same story here. I'm not going to lay 250 with Minnesota. The team's not good enough, and Lopez has been terrible, as you said before. I think I'm just going to rinse and repeat what I thought about the Rockies. Now, this team is not very good. They lost me money yesterday, but I can't take 250 in good conscience. Give me the Rockies at plus money. I think Gomber can do enough to hang in there. I think that Lopez, once again, until he settles down, or at least has a couple of consistently good starts in a row, I can't back him. So give me the Rockies at a very nice plus money price. Are they going to lose? Probably. But I can't bet this on Minnesota. This price feels off.
Yeah, completely agree with you there, Scott. Next up is the Toronto Blue Jays at the Milwaukee Brewers, which is a 2:10 Eastern first pitch. We have Chris Bassett going for the Blue Jays and Tobias Myers, do like saying that, for the Brewers, minus 110. The Blue Jays, minus 118 for the Brewers, with a total of 8.5, Scott.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean to Milwaukee in this one. I picked Milwaukee in the series opener. That got there. Even though Barrios was pitching, I just thought that Milwaukee would be able to find a way to get it done at home. Feel the same way here. Bassett has been very good his last couple of outings. He's allowed less than 2 runs in 3 of his last 4 starts. But I still just don't trust Toronto. They're not a good road team. Milwaukee, we know, is very good at home. And I just think at the end of the day, the Blue Jays are a bad road team. So give me the good home team at a pretty cheap price. Might be competitive for a while, but I trust Milwaukee, especially with the bullpen in the later innings. And Toronto's bullpen, we know, has been a mess. So I'll go with Milwaukee at home.
You wouldn't. There's no way you were going to take Toronto.
I can't.
Absolutely no way. I've gone for the under here, under 8.5, just because Bassett's going really well. 205 ERA in his last 5 starts. Myers has had 1 bad start against the White Sox, but he had been going okay before that. And what was a bit weird is he'd been going 4 innings in just about all of his starts. Then all of a sudden jumped to 8 last time out. And he has been really quite difficult to hit. He's only given up 2 homers in his starts. Neither side's in enough form for that to split the tie. So I focused on the total, and I think both pitchers should be fine here. So yeah, a bit of a duel, and I will take the under 8.5. Third up, 3:45 Eastern Time, the Houston Astros at the San Francisco Giants. Left-handed pitcher Framber Valdez for the Astros and Logan Webb for the Giants. This is close on the books. -110 Houston, -118 San Francisco. Total of 7.5. Can't really change my my handicap from the Tuesday night game. In that I just prefer the Giants over the Astros. I asked Munaf last night about how he felt about his hometown team, and he still hasn't quite written them off. But I'm approaching that point, Scott, where I think they might be done for the year. We're getting home Logan Webb here. The Giants won game 1. You can't bet Houston, I don't think. Even the home road record to the two teams, 18 and 14 for the Giants against 13 and 19 for Houston. So again, the Giants at home with their best pitcher going where he is good. Just about to pick him. The Giants, -118 will be my play, Scott. You on mute there, Scott, I think.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. I was going to say I was surprised by the line. Even though I do acknowledge how good Webb actually is at home, I did think Houston, based on reputation, would be favored. So maybe the odds makers are starting to figure out this team's not very good. At least that's my takeaway from this line. But I think I am going to lean to the Giants as well. Probably first 5. Valdez has been better lately, but I do think he's still susceptible to giving up some runs. And I think that if you want to talk about who could, in theory, have just a phenomenal outing, I think that Webb has a better chance of doing so than Valdez. But Valdez, last 2 starts, 16 innings, 2 runs. So he's been great. I'll acknowledge it, but I don't mind the under in this game. Maybe first 5 under. I could see a low-scoring 2-1 type game in the 6th inning. So I don't mind the first 5 under in this matchup.
Okay, we move on. Once we've talked about Underdog Fantasy, Pick 8 is now live for the NBA Finals. Create your entries with up to 8 picks, and now Underdog automatically double flex entries, so you can miss up to 2 picks and still win. More picks to make and extra ways to win. The excitement is high than ever, and you can win up to 325 times your original amount. The specials and boosts and all your flex entries. So don't miss your chance to try it before it's gone. Our code to sign up is MLB SGPN. That'll give you a special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MLB SGPN. 4:10 Eastern first pitch is the Oakland Athletics at the San Diego Padres. Left-handed pitcher Hogan Harris for Oakland, and we see Michael King taking the ball for the Padres. -200 at home, San Diego, +155 for Oakland. I did not see a total on this about 20 minutes ago before we started. Let me see if I can drag one up now.
I see 7.5.
You see 7.5. That's good enough for me. Okay, lead us off with this one, Scott.
Yeah, I'll go with San Diego, -1.5. San Diego offensively has actually been good lately. I feel like people haven't really noticed that. Scored 6 runs in the opener. They did score at least 10 runs in 2 of the last 3 games against Arizona. So 6+ in 3 of 4. We know Oakland's a terrible team. They have lost 3 straight on the run line. They can't hit. You're also looking at the overall offensive numbers for Oakland, especially over the last couple of weeks. Here are the run totals. 1-4. That game went to extras. 0-2. 0-2. 3-1. So they can't hit. I'll go with San Diego -1.5.
Well, that all fits in nicely with my pick, which is a Auckland team total under. I just didn't really want to factor in the Padres too much. King's been really, really good. He's been great in his last 3, 17 innings, 2 earned runs, only given up 11 hits. But I was just happy to take Harris out the equation because I think he might be all right. He was in the majors early in the season. He went away. He's back. He pitched well in his last 2 starts. I think the walks and the homers might catch up with him at some point. But I was just happy to leave him out. So rather than back the Padres to get to him, I'm happy to take that week offense that you just outlined, Scott. So the team total under for the Oakland Athletics for me in that one. 6:35 Eastern first pitch between the Atlanta Braves and the Baltimore Orioles. We have very much two of the lesser lights going here. We have one of the biggest names in baseball, Spencer Schwellenbach, going for the Atlanta Braves. And it is Cade Povich, left-handed pitcher, going for the Baltimore Orioles. -133, home favourites, Baltimore. The Braves are even money, +100, and the total here is set at 9.5. This is interesting because obviously we've got two of the premier teams in the game, but we've got two pitchers here who we don't know too much about. Two pitchers with very large ERAs. You don't often see this. Schwellenbach is rocking at 8.38, but Povich has got him beat with a 10.13. I think it was myself and you, Scott. We had Schwellenbach last week, or maybe on his debut.
I didn't back him,
and we did fade him.
we
and it
had
paid
him.
off.
I didn't back him. So
No, we faded him. No, we were absolutely right. I think it was an opposition team total. I can't remember who it was. Povich gave up 4 walks last time out on his debut and 6 earned runs against the Blue Jays. I knew the total would be high, but it does look like a shootout, and I'm not sure the books have gone high enough. I'll take over 9.5. Someone can nick this 6-4, Scott.
yeah, I'll go with the over. I don't think either pitcher is that good. We keep getting his games, and he keeps struggling. So I'll keep going with the overs. I think at the end of the day, I would probably lean to Baltimore. I just think that right now they're in better form. It's actually my World Series matchup preseason, so we'll see what happens. But I think at the end of the day, I think you're just going to see some runs. We know that Baltimore's been hitting pretty well lately. Henderson keeps hitting home runs, and I do think Atlanta offensively have improved over the last couple weeks. Still not as good as we were hoping they would be preseason, but they're still fine. I think they're good enough to capitalize on a bad starting pitcher. So I'll go with the over as well. This might be a very high-scoring game.
Some American culture related chat going on in the comments here, Scott. I've got no idea who Maury Povich is. What am I missing?
Do you know who Jerry Springer is?
Oh, I know Jerry Springer.
He used to have a show about like some drama that would happen. Maury was the same thing, but it was all DNA tests. They would bring in parents to see if somebody was like the father or not of the kid.
Yeah.
That was kind of what the show was. Same idea, but mostly just if the person was the father or not. I saw Maury live, actually. I went one time with my mom. Yeah, we actually went.
Really?
We did. We sat in the stands. It was good, or the crowd. It was a good time. A couple years ago. Home in Connecticut.
What was the overall under on positive DNA tests when you were there?
It was unfortunate. They were all the father. And it was very, very upsetting stuff. It was bad television. I mean, if you're going to sit in the crowd, you don't want a happy ending. You want the chaos where they start fighting on the actual stage and the camera starts following around the people. We didn't get any of that. It was a fully wholesome episode, and I don't like it. I didn't go for wholesome. I went for chaos. So, yeah, that was the one time I went. Unfortunate that nobody there were no twists. They were all the father, which was not what we were hoping for in the stands. But
that's made me giggle, that, Scott. They don't make programs like that anymore. You're not allowed. Back in the day, it was effectively, we had a program like that over here, and they termed it was human bear baiting, is what it was termed, and then everything was outlawed after that. Yeah, back when television was.
What's that show about? What is that about?
It's the same, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Poor people shouting at each other, effectively, and a lot of DNA tests. That's made me giggle. Well done. I've got no idea where we're up to on this card now. Sidetracked. 6:40 Eastern first pitch is the Washington Nationals and the Detroit Tigers. Jake Irvin for the Nationals and Reese Olson for Detroit. +110 Washington, -138 Detroit. Scott, give us a total and then give us your handicap because I haven't got a total either.
Total for this one, I see 7.5 or 8. So shop around whichever number you want.
Okay. Go on.
Yeah. For this one, it's a tough call because I think that Olsen's the better pitcher, but I don't actually know if he is because numbers wise, Irvin is better, but Olsen's been a bit more consistent. The issue is Olsen had a really bad outing recently, which kind of sabotaged his entire ERA. In fact, the last 2 outings, he's been horrible. 9 in the third innings pitched, 18 hits allowed, and 13 earned runs. So Olsen was phenomenal, and then he kind of hit a wall. I don't want to lay 135 with a pitcher that just hit a wall. I'll go with Washington.
I've got Washington as well, Scott. Team ride on the underdog here. The first thing I wanted to mention about the Tigers is that the trade talk around Tarek Skubal has unsettled a lot of the Tigers fans. I've seen some angry Tigers fans kicking around. Irvin's been great recently. 245 in his last 5, including 2 scoreless in his last 3, both against the Braves. So he's held the Braves scoreless twice. The problem with Olsen is he pitched really well and could not buy a win. And now all of a sudden, he's dipped out of form. Like you say, 13 earned in his last 9 1/3 pitched. Washington in decent form. And I think behind Irvin, they're live here. Yeah, so I'll take Washington at plus 110. Next game on the card, 6:50 Eastern first pitch is the Chicago Cubs at the Tampa Bay Rays. Javier Assad for the Cubbies, and for the Tampa Bay Rays, it will be Aaron Savale, minus 105 Chicago, minus 125 Tampa Bay. You got a total on this, Scott?
Total in this game, I see 8.
8. Yeah, so Javier Assad here, he was pitching well early in the season, but appears recently to have lost it. He has regressed, unfortunately. 3 losses in a row, giving up 11 earned runs in those 3. Arcivali was threatening to put a little run together, and because he hadn't been pitching well, and then all of a sudden he gave it back up last time against Baltimore, gave up 4 earned runs in that. The Rays aren't playing very well at all. Swept in a 4-game set, I think, by Tampa Bay over the weekend. But the Cubs aren't in great form either. This was really tricky. But both pitchers are giving up runs. I think it was that simple. So I will take over 8 here, Scott.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. I think you meant Baltimore. I think it's swept by Baltimore over the last couple of days. You said Tampa got swept by Tampa. You said Tampa got swept by Tampa.
Yeah, that's not. I mean, the White Sox could do that themselves, but even Tampa on that one. Yes, it was Baltimore. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on the over. I don't trust either pitcher here. I think I have to lean the Cubs, though. The Rays just laying 120 and change does not interest me. I remember when the Cubs were good. That was a fun time for like a month and a half, 2 months. Then they forgot how to play baseball. But I do think Tampa is a lost cause. And if we're talking about, you mentioned before asking Munaf if he thinks the Astros are done and if they're going to trade some guys. Is Tampa about to nuke their team? Because it feels like they're about to, doesn't it?
Are they about to what, sorry?
Blow up the team. We know that they're a cheap organization anyway. They're not threatening anything. The AL East is difficult anyway. They're in last place. They're a cheap organization. Are they going to trade half the team by the deadline?
Yeah, they do. For the first time since we've been doing this show in sort of 4 years, they haven't managed to do what they always do, which is convince people that they're not going to be as good, muck about with their starting pitching, trade some guys, and then still put out a competitive team or a playoff team. And it just doesn't, at this moment, look like they're capable of doing it. And I don't see that pitching depth. They have suffered a lot of bad luck with the injuries, but when you're working in the margins like Tampa Bay do, if you suffer that bad luck, then that does cause you a problem because you just don't have necessarily the depth to be able to paper over the cracks. So yeah, disappointing season for Tampa, and I can't see it improving too much. Did you give your pick for that one, Scott?
Yeah, Wayne Cubs at plus money, and I like the over.
Okay. To the top left-hand corner, 7:10 Eastern first pitch. Miami Marlins at the New York Mets. We have left-handed pitcher Braxton Garrett for Miami. left-handed pitcher David Peterson goes here for the Mets. Plus 120, the Marlins. I got minus 154 for the Mets, but that was a really early price. There's got to be a better price than that kicking around. The Mets can't be minus 154, surely. Oh, well, they are actually seen it on two books now. Maybe they are. So Garrett, he had back-to-back good starts. Like you said, I was quite keen on Garrett coming into the season. Then he had the late start. Didn't look great to start with. Then all of a sudden put it together. Until last time, he got absolutely rocked. 2 2/3, 5 earned runs against the Tampa Bay Rays, which leaves him sitting with a 5.81 ERA. And I just don't know what to do with him at the moment. You can't back him. You can't do anything with any confidence on Garrett. Peterson's an interesting character here. He's now had 2 starts, and he's going to be important, I think, for the Mets. The Mets are claiming they saw some green shoots of recovery, having won that second game in London at the weekend. But Peterson's going to have a large part to play if the Mets are going to be somewhat competitive in the second half. And he's been okay in his 2 starts, 2 earned runs. So I think this is a decent spot for the Mets. However, I don't like that price. As always, I handicap these games before I see the prices. I thought we might get the Mets at minus 125, minus 130 here. Minus 154 is a little bit too ugly. So I wanted the Mets. I want Peterson, but I'm not sure about that price, Scott. So I don't know where to go here. Can you help me out?
Yeah, I see a 145. I'll lean to the Mets in this one. They've been decent lately. I mean, they ended up beating up on the Nationals. They split the game against the series against Philly. And I was concerned about Philly and the Mets on Tuesday because I thought that maybe some jet lag would play a factor and they might struggle. They might have a game under their belt though, so I don't expect it to be an issue on Wednesday. I'm going to lean to the Mets though. I just think at the end of the day, the Mets right now are in better form, and I think Peterson's in better form than Garrett. So I'll lean to the Mets at home. The issue is at home, this team is really bad offensively, especially early in games. I don't know what that is. The Mets, I think, are number 1 in the league in first 5 runs per game on the road, and they're dead last at home. So I don't know what that's about. So if you want Miami, maybe early, because the Mets can't score. But I think I am going to go with the Mets here. I just think Peterson's better form, and I do think that 145 is kind of reasonable based on how bad the Marlins have been this season. So I'll go with the Mets.
Okay, so we got there in the end. We got a team ride on the Mets, although not the most attractive of prices. Let me tell you about Rhythm. If you're betting on NBA player props, you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu with the best player props for every single NBA playoff game, making it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning the algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. So whether you're playing DFS or making bets, you can do that with a whole lot more confidence. Rhythm have the best props from the superstars all the way down to the bench players, all backed by AI data. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Next game on the card is a 7:10 Eastern first pitch between the Cleveland Guardians and the Cincinnati Reds. It is Tanner Beebe for Cleveland, left-handed pitcher Nick Lodolo for the Reds, who are minus 125 faves at home. Cleveland are minus 105. Scott?
It's pretty tricky because the Guardians are 20 games over 500, which is kind of nuts. The Reds are 2 below, but they've been good lately, and I think Lodolo's good. But I think getting plus money with the Guardians is just too much to pass up on. I got to lean Cleveland here. I think the better team. If I think that Bybee can hang in there against Lodolo, I obviously like the Guardians bullpen more than the Reds. I think they're the best bullpen ERA in the league. So if you're going to give me an elite bullpen, a team that, once again, is 20 over 500, which I think is kind of insane, I'll go with Cleveland. I mean, based on what we've seen record-wise this season, Cleveland is the better team. Even though I do like Lodolo, I think this game's going to be close. I think it's going to be low scoring early, and I think that Cleveland maybe rallies to win it. But plus 105 with a team that's been this much better than the opposition, based on record, I think it's a great price. I'll take Cleveland plus 105.
I've actually gone the other way here. I like the Reds, and I quite like the Reds in this series. This is one where I'd like to see how game one goes on the Tuesday night. But BB's having a good season. He's reliable in terms of length and his stat line. And it's the game totals that he's pitched kind of reflect how he's pitched, but they also reflect how Cleveland go as well. The game totals in his last 5 have been 7, 8, 7, 7, and 7. So you can pretty much hang your hat on what Cleveland and BB are doing. But I really like Nick Lodolo, 6-2, 2.92 ERA. He's only given up 4 earned in his last 17 and 1/3 in 3 games started. The Reds have won his last 3 as well. And like I say, I did quite fancy the Reds this series. They've been hot. I think they're 8-2 in the last 10 before this Tuesday night goes off. So I'll take the other side. I will take Cincinnati. Next game is 7:10 Eastern between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Boston Red Sox. Left-handed pitcher Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies. We have Nick Pivetta going for the Red Sox. Hadn't seen any lines earlier on. Christopher Sanchez was actually quite a late confirmation here for Philadelphia. Let me just check quickly once more. No, still not seeing any lines. So the books haven't caught up to that one. The first little bit of news on this one, and I saw this news quite late here, is that JT Realmuto is undergoing knee surgery. And I think the general timeline for an injury of this nature is about 4 to 6 weeks. Scott, trivia time. I know you like it when I spring this shit on you. Since 2015, JT Realmuto has caught the most innings in baseball. Okay. How many more innings has he caught than the second player on that list?
I have to think of who would even be in second place, because I think a lot of catchers now are like, a lot of them are part-time DHs, so like I wouldn't go Salvador Perez because he plays first sometimes as well. Like I'm trying to think of who would be another catcher that would play a lot. I'm going to say that he's 320 innings above second place.
Mate, 1,517 and a third. That's outrageous. That is
I was rounding down.
Yeah, you were 80% away, Scott, is where you were. Yeah, he's caught 1,517 innings more than anybody else. That's absolutely remarkable.
You know,
4 to 6 weeks for him.
Who's second? Who's second on that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Don't out of the question, Scott. We don't do second. Someone in the chat, you can win a bobble hat if you find that out. Sanchez has been outstanding. 3-3 on the year, 271, 2 earned runs in his last 17 and a third in 3 games. No homers in his last 5. Nick Pivetta, he's got 1 start against the Brewers, which skews his numbers slightly. But he is pitching well. He does strike out a lot of players, 9, 9, 8, and 8 in 4 of his last 5. And I thought with the Phillies being present here, the bookies might just lower his strikeout props a tick. So there could be value in a Pivetta strikeout prop. So that was my play on this. Having not seen any lines, I couldn't give you a side or a total. But I think Nick Pivetta could carry on punching out some people tomorrow, Scott.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean to the Red Sox in this one. I don't have a price, but we can pretty much guarantee Philly will be favored in this game, just based on overall record. There's a lot of question marks for Philly, because not only is Realmuto a very solid hitter, but he controls then again, a lot of the actual pitch calling now is done by the people in the either upstairs or in the dugout, and they're pressing buttons. I don't actually know what Realmuto does behind the plate anymore, besides throw out runners and frame pitches, but he's a great catcher. And now you got to reinvent that as well. So some chemistry might not be there with the catcher and the pitchers, but I think the Red Sox might have the better pitcher in the spot, and potentially because Sanchez has been really bad on the road. He's good at home, bad on the road, and Pivetta's been fine for the most part. Revenge game for Pivetta, if that matters. But I'll lean to the Red Sox in this one. I think at the end of the day, the Phillies might be a bit vulnerable with all the injuries they have. And I also have to point out, as I mentioned before, that Marsh is also out, as Marsh is about to have some rehab games in Double-A. So the injury bug is starting to bite Philly. They're off a long trip to England. Now they're back. I don't think it's a great scheduling spot, and the injuries don't help. So I'll go with the Red Sox in this one.
7:45 Eastern first pitch. The Pittsburgh Pirates at the St. Louis Cardinals. Left-handed pitcher Bailey Falter for Pittsburgh, and Sonny Gray goes for St. Louis. It is -182 for the Cardinals, +140 for the Pirates. Again, I've got no totals on this one. Scott, Pirates at Cards.
I think I might actually lean to the Pirates in this one. Gray's been vulnerable recently. Last two starts, 9 2/3, 7 runs allowed. He really has not been great for the last month or so, even though his overall numbers were solid. But I think that you're looking at Pittsburgh being potentially feisty in this spot. Falter has been fine so far this season. 3.69 ERA. If you want to go through the last couple outings, he has kind of alternated between good and bad starts. Did get roughed up against the Dodgers the last time out. Last two road starts, though, 13 2/3, no runs. So I think that he's in line to pitch well. I think Gray's just a bit overvalued, just based on his recent performances over the last month compared to his overall season numbers. I think a lot of the numbers, the good numbers that Gray has, are because of the first month or so of the season. Recently, he's kind of regressed pretty heavily. I'm going to lean to Pittsburgh. I think plus money is a decent actual line for Pittsburgh. I don't want to lay 180, so give me the Pirates at like plus 150, plus 160.
Yeah, laying 180 is not an option here at all. We're back in lockstep. Scott, I have taken the Pirates here at plus 140. Faulkner will need to recover from a bad start against the Dodgers, but he was pitching well before that. The last two for Gray haven't been good, but in fact, 4 of his last 6, he's given up between 3 and 6 earned runs. Just the name of Sonny Gray on the card here skews the prices, and I much prefer Pittsburgh. So yeah, I'll take Pittsburgh at plus 140.
I found 145.
We're in about 4 games on the card here, and 3 of these are off the board. The later games are all off the board here. 3 of these 4. I'm just going to refresh my page one more time and see if I can find some more, because yeah, it's a little bit. It's definitely the later start. So the first one of which actually we don't have a picture for Kansas City. So that explains that one. It's an 8:10 first pitch between the New York Yankees and the Kansas City Royals. It's Cody Petit for New York, Kansas City, and I haven't seen anyone listed all day at all. No speculation even. So no lines on this one. I can tell you, actually, I wanted to talk about a little bit your New York Yankees last night, Scott. That they're doing things just a little bit different. They've been very good, obviously. But then last night, they went out and they put out what you might call that B lineup.
Yeah, they bunted. We had a squeeze play. I haven't seen a squeeze play from the Yankees in like 5 years.
Yeah. They did it in singles and bunts and all sort of stuff that not really what you'd call Yankees baseball. And that can only be positive. Showing different ways to manufacture runs, different ways to win games. So yeah, I was quite impressed with that, Scott. Cody Petit, I think he was an unlucky loser last time out against the Dodgers. He held them through 4 2/3, but the Yankees lost the game 2-1. Only thrown 2 starts, but they've both been good. So I'm happy to trust him. And that was as far as I got, with nothing going for the Royals. Anything else to add?
Yeah, Petit got a no decision in that one. That was the 0-0 game in extras on Friday, and he ended up getting a no decision on that one. Yankees had a nice win. Judge ended up not playing, and Soto came back. So they were able to get by. Gave Judge the day off. He's been, I don't know, Barry Bonds for the last month. I mean, It's been insane what he's done. So now Soto and Judge should be back. Yankees dodged a bullet, not having to put Soto on the IL. Played yesterday. Probably going to DH for a bit, so keep that in mind. But Kansas City recently, not great. They salvaged that game against Seattle, where they were down 8 runs in that game and won. And I don't think they've won since. So I'm not a big fan of the current form of this team. The Yankees, in my opinion, are the best team in the league. I know the Dodgers won the series. Soto didn't play in any of those games. I'm going to let that slide. And Philly's now injured. So I think they're the best team in the league. And I mean that as an unbiased Yankees fan who's been very critical of his team for a long time. The team's really good. And I think Petit's actually been good too. So I'll go with the Yankees.
Yeah. We do. Next up, if you see any lines on these, Scott, just shout up, because this is where we're starting to struggle a bit. It's a TBD picture for the LA Angels here, which is a 9:40 Eastern first pitch at the Arizona Diamondbacks. Slade Ciccone draws the start for the D-backs. No numbers on this one either, Scott. I think it's Jose Soriano, by the way,
Yeah,
for
that's
the
what I see.
Angels, but that's not yet confirmed. Do you have much on this one?
ESPN is Soriano as well, so I'm assuming Soriano's going to
Okay.
pitch in this game. It's a pretty weird matchup because both teams are not very good. The Angels, though, are better on the road than at home by a pretty decent margin. Solei's given up a bunch of home runs, 10 home runs allowed in 41 in the third innings, and Soriano's walked a ton of guys. 64 in the third innings pitched, 26 walks. So I like the over in this game. I mean, the problem is the Angels can't hit. You're looking at their offensive numbers for the last week and a half. They cannot hit at all. So it's a weird matchup. We'll see how the Angels look tonight, actually, against Montgomery, who's been terrible. So maybe they can bounce back and figure it out. But based on recent form, the Angels did end up salvaging the series finale against the Astros, where they did score a bunch of runs. I think they won on a walk-off home run. But to go through the actual numbers for the offense of Los Angeles, scored 9 runs in the last game, which is good. Scored one run in the middle game and 1 run in the first game against the Astros. Then 3-2-2, they swept despite not scoring more than 4 runs in a game against the Padres. Games before that, 1 run and 0 runs against Seattle. So they have scored less than 5 runs in, I'm doing the math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of their last 8 games. I can't trust this offense, but I don't like either pitcher. So I guess I'm going to lean over.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Myself and Munaf, we both picked the Angels last night just because you had to fade Montgomery at -180. And we often get these series where we say, if you take them both nights, they're going to win one of them and make you some profit. And I quite like them here. I've been enjoying Soriano's work. His road figures are holding up. He was good against the Padres. Lots of his games are going under. Ciccone, you get more bad than good out of him. I mean, that 5.66 ERA and a 1-4 record. And he hasn't been good at home at all. Very hard to split the teams and the pitchers, actually. But I believe the Angels will be underdogs. It'll be close, but I think you'll get plus money on the Angels. And at those prices, following up that Montgomery game on Tuesday, I would take the Angels in this spot. The penultimate game on the card is on the board, thankfully. It is the Chicago White Sox at the Seattle Mariners. Jonathan Cannon, a new name to me, goes for the Chicago White Sox. And it is Bryce Miller for the Seattle Mariners, plus 188 for the White Sox. The Mariners are sitting here at -250. The total is... Do we have one? No, the total is not on the board. The Mariners come into this off the back of the Cal Raleigh walk-off grand slam last night. On Monday night, that'll help them out a little bit. Jonathan Cannon has a 5.94 ERA. He pitched 3 scoreless innings against Boston last time out. But before that, in his 2 starts, had given up 17 hits and 10 earned runs against the Rays and the Twins. And I do kind of fear for him here. I'm not sure this is it. This is a great spot. Miller hasn't got too many stat lines, too many good stat lines in his game log either. He gave up 7 against the Royals last time out. But there's a 5 earned and there's a 4 earned in there as well in his last 5 starts. So if the total's not ridiculous, which I don't think it will be because they never are with the White Sox offense, rarely get above 8.5 maybe. I think if the White Sox can help us out with a couple of runs here off Miller, I think we can get an over because I'm not sure this is a great spot for Cannon. So I would take it over, guessing it might be 8.5, Scott, or do you think I'm wrong?
Well, the total's 7 or 7.5, so you can pick whichever
Well,
number you're wrong with. But
yeah,
I see 7s out there.
Then.
But
wow,
yeah.
Give me the over.
Well, there's one thing I got right on the card yesterday was that I said I like the over 6.5 between Fedde and Gilbert, and the pitchers were good. The bullpens weren't, but I got there. But it worked out. But yeah, the White Sox led 4-0 in the 8th inning, and they lost 8-4, which is pretty hard to do against a team while you're on the road to lose by 4 runs when you're up 4-0 in the 8th inning. Give me Seattle -1.5. I've mentioned it before. The White Sox are one of the worst teams I've ever seen. They're going to lose 120 games. I said this months ago, and I know that that's a massive number in baseball. I think they are going to win less than 40 games this season. So I think they're that bad. So give me Seattle -1.5. Cannon, yeah, Cannons are kind of obsolete nowadays, so I think he's going to struggle in this one. Give me Seattle -1.5.
Yeah, they're going to trade away Crochet, possibly Lewis Robert.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Tommy Pham's on the IL. Not that he should really move the needle, but it's kind of all they had. The final game on the card.
The one guy, by the way, that Chicago's not going to trade away.
Who's that?
Benintendi. He's the worst hitter in the league. So nobody's going to want him. But they can't trade him away. So, with that contract.
He was okay on the Yankees, wasn't he?
He was okay, I guess. But if you want to actually look at, I don't know if it was WAR or what the exact number is, but I think statistically speaking, he's the worst everyday player in the entire league this season. So I don't think they can trade him with that contract. So, yeah, Benintendi's probably going to be in Chicago for a while. Unless he gets completely DFA'd and he gets the Chris Davis treatment. But I don't know.
The final game on the card tomorrow is a Cowboy time, 10:10 Eastern first pitch between the Texas Rangers and the LA Dodgers. Texas officially TBD. I think it's John Gray. And for the Dodgers, it will be Walker Buehler. With no pitcher for Texas, this is off the board. Unfortunately, another one. Scott, do you singing John Gray? And who do you like here?
I'm going to go with Gray in this one. I feel like the Dodgers will obviously be favored by a lot. They're at home. They're the Dodgers. They might be laying like -180 in this one, maybe. Like, I don't really know what they're going to be laying. They could be laying any number, but they will definitely be favored. I feel like fading Buehler makes perfect sense because he's not been very good. And I'm not surprised. He had a pretty serious injury. He came back and he has struggled, which happens to some pitchers. They need to get going and they need to kind of work themselves out of a struggle post-injury before they feel comfortable again. But he's still being pressed against Walker Buehler. And he just has not been very good. He's given up at least 3 runs in 3 straight outings. And if you want to go back even further than that, he also has a hard time going length. But he's allowed at least 3 runs in, so far this season, 5 of his 7 outings. So I can't back this guy. I don't really want to. Or sorry, no, he's allowed at least 3 runs in 5 of 6 outings this season. Yeah. So if you're consistently handing out 3 runs every time, and you're going to be laying like 160, 170, maybe higher, I think Buehler's mispriced in basically every game he starts. So give me Texas. Gray's been good.
I agree with you again, Scott. I've taken Texas. You've picked out some of the really salient points here. I've got that Buehler's only really thrown one good start. There's a lot of walks dotted about. There's a lot of home runs dotted about his game log there. He has struck out a lot at home when he's pitched at home. He's struck batters out, so he's obviously a little bit more confident there. So maybe look for a strikeout prop. He's struck out 7 in both his home starts. So there's an option there if you want to do something with Buehler. Just back to the Chicago White Sox, Scott. The Dodgers are going to add a shortstop, and I think it's going to be Paul DeJong, by the way, of the Chicago White Sox. So watch this space on that one. That's my tip. Gray's been pitching well. He was injured. He came back with 2 1/3 last time. There's nothing to suggest he can't go well here in this spot. And Texas should be a nice price underdogs against the Dodgers here. So, yeah, I'll concur with you. I will take the Rangers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 15 games locked up in the books. Scott, we need a lock and a dog. What have you got?
All right. So for the lock on the show, sorry, just adding the timestamps. I got to think of what I actually want to do for this one. I don't have a number on the Texas game, but I am a bit intrigued by Texas first 5 in that game. Maybe as a dog. I just think Buehler's mispriced. For the sake of this matchup, though, I think I got to figure out what I want to do here. The over is tempting in the Orioles game, but I know Henderson apparently got ruled out today, so I'm not sure if he's actually seriously injured or what the story is there. I tried the Rockies last time. That didn't work out. I think the team total could be appealing there. You know what? I think I am going to trust my instincts here, and I'm going to do something that is dangerous. Don't try this at home. Give me the Mets on the money line against the Marlins at -145. I think Peterson's actually fine. He doesn't bother me. I think that Garrett has been very underwhelming, at least recently. I know he's had a kind of a weird start to the year because he joined late, and then he's kind of been up and down ever since. But I actually think the Mets have been in good form, and I think that winning that finale against the Phillies might actually carry out some confidence. But you're looking at Garrett this season. He has been good on the road, but he had two really good starts against Arizona and San Diego, and just bad starts sandwiched around them. So I don't think Garrett's that great, and I think that Peterson's been fine. So I'm actually going to go with the Mets at -145. I think that in general, they're in better form. And Miami, even though I don't like the Mets in general, the Marlins are worse. If we had to power rank these teams, I think the Mets are the better team. So give me the better team with potentially the better pitcher at -145. For my dog, I don't have a price on it, but I think I am going to do it. Give me the Rangers, first five on the money line. I'll fade Bueller. If I'm penciling Bueller in to give up 3 runs, then I think I got a shot at it. So give me the Rangers, first 5 money line.
My dog, I was sure you were going to pick Pittsburgh, Scott.
I was going to let you do it.
I was going to curse you, and then I was going to pivot to the Nationals, but you didn't. So I'll take Pittsburgh at +140 behind Bailey Falter. I don't want anything to do with the Cardinals at -182. Sonny Gray, like I say, 4 of his last 6 starts have been poor, and Falter's been trustworthy. +140. For my lock, it is a big total, but I can just see Atlanta and Baltimore smashing up both Schwellenbach and Povich in this one. So the total's at 9.5. But yeah, this is going to finish 7-5, 8-5. We'll see plenty runs here. This could be done by the 6th inning. So I will take the over 9.5 in Atlanta at Baltimore with the rookies Schwellenbach and Povich on the mound.
I see a 9, by the way.
And we have got the... You want me?
I see a 9. If you want 9 instead of 9.5.
Okay, yeah. I would take that's half a run. 9 with a push. Scott, anything you want to tell the people about before we go?
Not really. I always forget what the schedule is for the rest of the week, so I'll be back at some point on the show in the next few days. But nothing else to add. Nice to be back.
Have you been watching any of the cricket, Scott?
I know Team USA won a game. I don't watch cricket. I don't know the rules, but I know overs are pretty good. I think
Yeah,
overs are better than unders in that game. But I don't really watch much cricket. It's not for me.
This format of cricket is the best live betting sport that there is. Because honestly, you'll back one team at 20-1, and then 7 minutes later you can back the other team at 20-1. It's a wild ride. It flip-flops so very quickly. So it's great fun for a live bet, But yeah, get yourself involved in that. Right. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. The chat was buzzing. Scott, I appreciate that too. I'm back on Thursday night, so I'm having a night off tomorrow. Looking forward to that, and a little bit of day sport for me to watch too. Looking forward to the Euros starting on Friday. So if you're looking for a bet, get across to the Premier League Gambling Podcast. Me and Baz got everything under control over there. Kind words coming in from Edgar and Gio in the comments as well. So thank you for that. Look for the scheduled stream times on YouTube. Give us a 5-star thumbs up review, whatever you do, wherever you get your podcasts. But until the next time, we will see you down the road. Cheers.